All right, booze loving fam, we're here again. Here we are. But before we do anything, all of the opinions and views in these videos are my own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions and views of my employer or its subsidiaries. So, Boulevard, just the most recent one to jump on the seltzer bandwagon. I'm not even mad about it, to be completely honest. The only seltzer that I've had in the past that I legitimately enjoyed were the Wild Basin seltzers from Oscar Blues. So when we see these like craft breweries getting into hard seltzers, like I'm kind of here for it because their flavors are way more interesting. You know, when you think about like the Trulies and the White Claws of the world, what are they offering you? They're offering you lime, grapefruit, generic citrus, generic tropical. Like they're pretty boring flavors. But the Wild Basin flavors were actually pretty good, and Boulevard's flavors seem promising. We've got a Pear Yuzu, a Strawberry Basil, and a Blackberry and Sage. So these are not your typical flavors for seltzer. So honestly, in as much as I have had a history of not liking seltzers, I do kind of feel like these ones I'm going to like. As far as nutrition is concerned, these are gluten-free, all natural ingredients, real fruit juices. Weirdly, the Strawberry Basil is only 1% juice, but the Blackberry Sage is like 6. So what's going on there? Not really sure. I imagine we'll find out as we go through tasting. Only 90 calories for a 12-ounce serving, so like that's pretty good, you guys. And the Pear Yuzu has the highest amount of carbs, and it's still only 5. So I'm not a keto expert by any means, but for those of you that are doing keto, I'm pretty sure all of these fall within your guidelines because I think your rule is less than 5 grams, if I'm remembering correctly. Anyway, so super excited to try these. Really think I'm actually gonna legitimately like some of these flavors, and I'm gonna go in the direction that I think is gonna be the least palate wrecking. So we're gonna go Pear Yuzu, then the Strawberry Basil, and then the Blackberry Sage, because I mean, like, sage, come on, palate wrecker. Well, like with most seltzers, it doesn't really smell like a whole lot of anything. Okay, so with this one, it's weird because this is the Pear Yuzu, and you would think because it's in that order, Pear Yuzu, that it would be pear first and then the yuzu, but it's actually the other way around. Like the yuzu dominates the situation, and the pear is like way in the finish and sort of buried, if I'm being completely honest. But like not unpleasant at all. In fact, I'm kind of excited about the fact that the yuzu is up front because I like that really aggressive, like citrusy quality, like unapologetically citrusy quality that yuzu has. That's kind of fun for me. So is it what I was expecting? No, not necessarily, but I am pleased with the results. So this smells way fruitier in a glass than it did out of the can. Oh man, this is so weird. This is actually more flavorful out of the glass than it is out of the can, which is literally the opposite of the experience that I've had with hard seltzers, is that if you're gonna drink them, just leave them in whatever format they come in, because once you put it in a glass, like all the flavor disappears. That did not happen here. It was totally the opposite. Whoa, oh man. This one smells very intense, which is hilarious because this is the one that has the least amount of juice in it. This one says it's only 1% juice. The Pear Yuzu is 5. So the fact that this smells so incredibly intense, I mean, like very fresh strawberry, like picked at the perfect time. Like that's the aroma that I'm getting here. Definitely nothing artificial, which obviously we shouldn't be getting anything artificial because they used all natural ingredients in this, so there's no reason for us to get anything like that. So I'm excited. Don't let me down, Quirk. Wow. Okay. This is like literally the opposite of my seltzer experiences in the past. my complaint with seltzers as a whole genre is the fact that you told me you were going to be this flavor, and really you're just like seltzer water with a hint of whatever you said you were supposed to be. And it's incredibly disappointing. These, on the other hand, are really, really flavorful, like very intense, especially for a seltzer. Not just as a seltzer, but especially for a seltzer. Tons and tons and tons of flavor. Very intense, very aromatic. Definitely not what I expected at all. Okay, so with this one, out of a glass, the flavor did dissipate a little bit. Not as much as I found in other seltzers, but a little bit. So where that kind of follows along these same lines that I have found in my experience with other seltzers, the Pear Yuzu did not do that. It was the opposite. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Blackberry Sage. All right, so this is the one I'm the most excited for. This combination, like Blackberry Sage, that is, to me, those are just flavors that obviously go together. And I mean, not that the other ones were not flavors that go together, they do. But to me, this was the one that I was super, super excited for, especially because this one has 6% juice. So out of all of them, it is the one that has the highest amount of actual juice in the can. But they are all 90 calories across the board, so super low calorie for a 12-ounce serving, low alcohol, all that jazz. Great for these ridiculous Midwestern summer days. This one smells way more mild than the strawberry basil, and maybe even more mild than the Pear Yuzu, which is weird because Pear Yuzu, that's a very mild flavor. This is Blackberry Sage. I feel like this should be punching me in the face. Okay. All right, so this one is weird because the aroma is like super mild and almost like, oh no, this one's not gonna have any flavor. And then it does. It has a ton of flavor. It is an incredibly, incredibly tart blackberry. It is, when I think of blackberries, I really think more like towards the sweeter end of the berry spectrum. Mostly because a lot of other berries you can have when they're not completely ripe, and the tartness just kind of balances out the sweetness that is naturally occurring. But blackberries, I think, already kind of have like a tartness to them. So this is like really tart. I don't hate it, but I think there are a lot of people out there that really would. And weirdly enough, the sage overpowers here, almost to a fault. Yeah, I really wish that blackberry was the more predominant flavor. This kind of happened with the Pear Yuzu too. Like, the yuzu was supposed to be the secondary flavor, but it was what presented the most. Now, and I failed to mention this, but with the strawberry basil, the basil was hardly there at all. In the Blackberry Sage, the sage is like, oh boy, it's there. Weird! This one has color! And it's real pretty. It's like a real, like, deep rose pink. Really, I'm sort of enchanted by it. Okay, this is another one that like weirdly tastes better out of a glass than it does out of the can. Seltzers across the board, I've just been like, no, just open the can and drink it out of the can, because if you drink it any other way, you're going to get no flavor at all, as opposed to the whisper of flavor that you would get. But this one actually tastes better and a little more balanced out of a glass than it did out of the can. Out of the can, the sage is overpowering. The blackberry, there's a tartness there that is so prevalent. In a glass, those things are all sort of softened and the balance is a little bit better. I stand by what I said. The sage is still predominant. The blackberry is still very tart, but they are working a little bit more harmoniously together out of a glass. So, final thoughts on Quirk, the hard seltzer line from Boulevard Brewing. Man, my hat's off to you guys. This is a really yummy seltzer. I am super glad I did end up liking it, because I was so afraid that with this like preconceived notion in my head that these were going to be better. that I had basically put them up on a pedestal, and we'd have that effect where, oh my gosh, now you're not living up to my expectation. Now, did I think that they were perfect? Did I think that they completely break the box on hard seltzers? No, not necessarily. However, if I'm going to reach for a seltzer, it's probably going to be these or the Wild Basin from Oscar Blues that had like really interesting flavors. But this was executed really well, and they're not only do they have way more flavor than the other seltzers on the market, they confine to all of the things that you seltzer people are looking for. They're gluten-free, they're low calorie, low carb, and honestly, like these ones are pretty delicious. If I had to say which ones were my favorite, I would surprisingly go with like the Pear Yuzu as my first choice, which I did not see coming. I really expected for that one to be at the bottom for me. And then I would go with the strawberry basil and then the Blackberry Sage. Now the Blackberry Sage is the one that I thought I was gonna like the most, but I would say that for me, it was just like not quite as balanced as I really wanted it to be. I wanted more blackberry with sage as like a second starring component as opposed to just completely overpowering. But the strawberry I thought was super natural tasting, very fresh, really yummy. The basil was completely lost, so that was a little disappointing, but still, it was tasty. But that Pear Yuzu, like, I don't know, like, yeah, I thought that the yuzu was supposed to be like the supporting cast, but I wasn't upset about the fact that it ended up being the start of the show. It worked out really nicely, and that pear in the finish was just really soft, really welcoming, very inviting. I can totally see myself drinking an absolute ton of these this summer. I can see a lot of people drinking a ton of these this summer. If you're into seltzers, I would definitely 100% I would give these a try if you see them out in the wild. I know at my location, if you want to buy just one of these, you totally can. We have them available for individual purchase so that you can try them before committing to a full package. But honestly, if you're into seltzers, I would not be afraid to just go ahead and buy a full pack because you guys are going to love this. You guys are going to be blown away. You're going to be like, man, my seltzer is bullshit, and this seltzer is the real deal. Now, if you're somebody who's not into seltzers like me, then you might want to just slowly step into these waters and try them because you're probably going to like them. I really like them. I'm not into seltzers, but these are super tasty and definitely an alternative for your heavier craft beers or what have you that you're drinking most of the time. If you're sitting out in the Midwestern summer heat, you probably don't want to drink that kind of thing. These are tasty and I would totally stand by them. So that is my opinion. Do with that information what you will. Hopefully that's going to be going out and trying these because like I said, they're surprisingly delicious. Thanks for watching.